but my fear intensified when I saw a very tall man standing in the corner by the window. The man was so tall, his head was almost touching the ceiling.
Welcome, dear listeners, to the realm of shadows and spirits. Prepare to embark on a bone-chilling journey as we delve into the darkest corners of the paranormal. This is Creepy with Coffee.
Reading a story posted on Reddit by Life is Great Too, titled A Very Tall Man. Last year in December, my mum was hospitalized and I was staying at my sister's house, a spare room in the basement to be precise. Everything was going pretty okay for the first few nights, but on night 3, everything changed. I couldn't sleep well at first, and it didn't help that I kept hearing weird noises. There's this closet in the spare room, and that night I could hear movement from it where there should not have been. It almost sounded like someone or something was moving something heavy and dragging it around. The thing is, the closet isn't very big, so that's what made it even spookier. But I just thought it was my mind playing tricks on me, even though I'm a believer and I've had so many encounters with the paranormal. I just didn't want to believe it. I was already going through a lot, and at the same time was scared my mom was going to die. I didn't want another thing, you know. Anyway, sometimes the dragging noise in the closet would stop for a little bit and then continue. Other times, there would be a scraping sound outside the tiny basement window. It didn't sound like an animal. It sounded almost metal, like a shovel or something that was scraping the window. It was weird, but I didn't think much about it, so whatever. Until this one night, I had fallen asleep at some point, but woke up to an almost completely dark room. Even though there was a night light on, but it felt like it was darker than normal. So it gives me this very creepy feeling. So I was scared, but my fear intensified when I saw a very tall man standing in the corner by the window. The man was so tall, his head was almost touching the ceiling. He had torn up clothing, as if they had been through some hard times. The man, it looked like he had dark, long hair and a long beard that matched his hair color. He had his arms crossed against his chest. And then, this is when the scariest thing happened. He turned his head and looked at me. We made eye contact for several long seconds that felt like eternity before he vanished and the room became less dark. That is when I quickly picked up my phone and I looked at it, and it was showing me 4 in the morning. I didn't go back to sleep, but I didn't see the man again. But I could almost feel like someone was watching me. Later on, I told my sister what had happened, and she freaked out obviously. She begged me not to tell the husband or daughter because she is afraid that they would be too scared to go downstairs again, which I understand. After that incident, I actually had been down to the basement several times. But luckily, I've never seen the man again. I don't know who or what he was, but I hope I will never ever see him again. Reading a story on Reddit posted by the Crazy Dog Lady 13, titled, I thought it was my husband. Just recently, I was asleep in bed when I was woken up by what I thought was my husband throwing his leg over me in the middle of him sleeping. I pushed his leg off of me and I felt someone roll over in the bed. I rolled over a little more to snuggle with him, just to realize there's nobody in bed with me. I looked to see where my dogs were. They were beagle mixes, so small dogs, not anyway the size of a human. And one is on a pillow, sound asleep. The other one is on the foot of the bed in front of the fan, since she likes it there. And the other one is to my left. The other 3 dogs are out in the living room with my husband, who was sound asleep on the couch. Of course, he fell asleep watching football. Then I realized the time was 3:30 a.m. in the morning, and I said, man, I don't feel like dealing with this right now. I'm just gonna go back to sleep. So I rolled back over and went back to sleep. Reading a story on Reddit posted by Side Kittens. Title, I think about this every now and then. I still think about this every now and then. When I was in 3rd grade, I had a friend named Rebecca. She had transferred to my school because she moved around a lot from foster home to foster home. So I didn't plan on creating a tight bond with her because I knew she would have had to move eventually. Throughout the school year, she was my only friend. She was somebody who truly understood me. I never felt understood until I met Rebecca. She was the first person to introduce me to the paranormal. Whenever I would spend the night at her house, she would tell me scary stories in the dark as she would shine a flashlight over her face. I really didn't believe the scary stories she told me until this one particular night. We had just went to dinner and a movie with her parents. When I would spend the night, we would have a bedtime, and it was 8 p.m, exactly on the dot. But Rebecca and I never followed that rule. Whenever we knew her parents went to sleep, we would go downstairs and watch TV in the living room. So we did that. That one particular night, as we sat on the couch, she started telling me that she would see this man and his dog every single night. He usually minded his own business and didn't speak. He would just wander around the house with his dog. As the night went on, I thought to myself that Rebecca was lying to me to try and scare me. You know how young kids are. They often had a bad habit of lying. But as we sat there on the couch watching TV, I looked behind me and there was this man with his dog going up the staircase. The man had a top hat and a tuxedo on, and his dog was what looked like to be a golden retriever. Rebecca didn't have a scared look on her face like I did. I remember being so scared. After that, I had to sleep in my mum's room for a couple of weeks. Reading a story from Reddit posted by Dame Nuffin, titled The Old Man at the Top of My Stairs. Hi, I'm a female, 18 years of age. This happened a while ago, yet it still goes on. My parents bought my current house when I had just turned 1. From ages 3 to 5, my younger sister and I used to see this ghost at the top of the stairs, of an old man who used to wave at us and was very gentle. We used to see him at our bedroom doors in the evenings as well. I don't recall this and thought my mum was just lying to my sister and I that there was a ghost in our house until I saw it myself. Our next door neighbors had brought their kids over so I can babysit them. I was about 12 at that time and they were ages 3 and 6 years old. I walked into the kitchen to get them a snack, and when I walked back, they were waving at something upstairs. I asked them, and they told me it was an old man. Both children told me that they could see him, that old man. I was terrified. I've come to realize that any children aged 3 to 6 years old can see this old man whenever they come over, but only once. Reading a story posted on Reddit by Competitive at 646, titled Devil in the ICU. My mum used to work night shift at a hospital before she retired. Years ago, she had a terrifying experience that she recently told me about. During one of her shifts, she had an elderly patient that was in the ICU getting ready to pass. Oftentimes, my mum would sit and visit with her patients during her downtime. The woman was crying, so my mum held her hand and asked what was wrong. While still crying, the woman said that he was here for her. She said that he was evil when he was alive, and he's still just as evil now. Confused, my mom asked if the lady was talking about her husband. The woman told my mother her dead husband made her life a living hell, and now, on her deathbed, had been in her room for days tormenting her. He told her he was here to take her. She said he had been standing in the corner of the room since she was admitted into the ICU. My mother offered to pray with the woman, which she accepted. The woman eventually passed, but had told my mother before she went that she no longer saw her husband and she was able to go in peace. Reading a story posted on Reddit by Demnafin, titled I Saw My Dead Uncle, Whom I Never Met. Hi everyone, I am now currently 18. This happened a while ago, and I'm finally ready to share because they still terrify me every now and then. First off, when I was about 6 or 7, my uncle passed away. I had never met him because he lived so far away, but my parents decided to take a trip to visit his grave. My dad stayed in the car with myself and my younger sister, and only my mom went out. When we arrived at the graveyard, it was during the midday. My sister and I saw this short old man wearing a top hat, a black jacket, and shorts. He was playing a peekaboo with the both of us, and we were laughing hysterically. My dad noticed and called my mom back to the car. When she got back, they both asked us who we were playing with. We responded, "That man over there." And both my parents turned to each other with horror faces. They asked us what he was wearing, and we explained it to them. They were shocked, as that's what my uncle was wearing when they buried him. Mind you, we never met him, so this memory still scares me. Reading a story posted on Reddit by Urban Lore Podcast, titled Shadow Over My Shoulder. I was 18 years old, and this was a long time ago. My grandfather had died suddenly the week before. He had not been ill. He was actually very healthy, but he was nearly 100 years old. It was about a week after his funeral, and I was sitting on the floor in the front living room we only use when we had company over. Otherwise, we use a much more comfy family room in the back of the house. I sat on the floor close to a sofa, flipping through a book. I was only one in the room. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw or sensed a shadow figure. This is hard to explain, but it was between the sofa and the wall. The spaces between those two items was no more than 4 inches. I perceived this human-like figure to be leaning over the sofa, reading over my shoulder. I also felt like it was a 2-dimensional shadow. So I guess imagine a black cardboard human shape cut out but bent at the waist to look over my shoulder. It seems like a detailed description, but there is no way I saw it for more than just a few seconds. I did a double take and it was gone. I was more surprised than scared. As I turned back towards my book, I saw the shadow move quickly down the far wall and through a closed door to a hallway. I never got up to look in the hallway. I also never encountered the figure again. Reading a story posted on Reddit by Starze Pretty, titled Something is Always Following and Touching Me. Recently, I felt something following me around everywhere. I always felt like someone is watching me, and I feel a hand on my shoulder or head when nothing is even there. So I kept seeing this thing when I'm outside. It doesn't talk, usually, but I keep seeing it wherever I go. It's always behind a tree or hiding behind something. When I was younger, I used to go outside to a swing next to a huge tree, and I kept seeing a shadow figure stick its head out, but whenever I tried to actually look at it, it disappeared. It doesn't hurt or scare me. It's sort of like a father. It comforts me. And yes, it may be just an imaginary friend, but it feels real. I kept feeling it touch me on my shoulder, and I feel it next to me, always beside or behind me. When I sleep and face the wall, I also felt it behind me. There are times when I see it or hear it in the closet or in the hallway at night, but I never get the feeling of it's gonna harm me. That's all for today's episode. We hope we have sent shivers down your spine and left you with a haunting feeling that will linger long after the episode has ended. Join us again next time as we explore more tales of the paranormal. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review or a comment, and share this with your friends who love a good scare. Until next time, remember to keep an eye over your shoulder and listen closely to the whispers in the dark. This is Kim, signing off.